call with for the UK, so it's going to be nice.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah. Hey, good morning, everyone. We are live. As you're coming into this one, you know what to do. So, how you been, brother? You feeling sore, or what's the scoop?
Yeah, I actually just went for a run just now. I went for a 30-minute run, first one since Sunday.
Right.
Legs are feeling pretty good. Yeah, they were a little bit sore,
Dude.
the truth be told.
Yeah.
Not too bad. No, I think all things considered, having run 36 pretty, reasonably hard Ks on Sunday, that was to be expected. But no, I've tried to look after myself. I think the recovery is pretty important. So,
do you feel like you're getting to know your body a little bit better?
Yeah, for sure. And also perhaps respect my body a little bit better.
In what way? Like you were doing a run and then go the next day type thing?
Yeah, even just like everything all together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still trying to get into the gym and do some strength stuff, and doing running and then working and then having to live life and all the rest of it all piles up. So, that little bit left over for sleeping, that's what I found is really important. Yeah. So I do have to look after my sleep.
Yeah.
There's a few things like that. So it all combines, doesn't it, into the whole thing. So, totally. A bit more respect. Yeah. Still push, but have a bit of respect for the some of the other bits.
Well, guys, good morning, everyone. We were just carrying on a conversation that we started before we went live. So we're going to start this one in 2 minutes. So to everyone that's coming into this one live, you better buckle up because I've asked Nick to not be so nice and give us some real cut through on really just how he thinks. And we've got some questions prepped. And so if you're coming in here live, love seeing you in here. Hopefully this is going to be beneficial. Good morning, Sean. How are you, legend? We got Kara in here as well. Good morning, guys. Tezzy boy, your running mate. He's, I reckon Tez is slightly jealous that he's not on this call just quietly. I asked, originally I wanted to do a group chat with both Tez and Nick, but Tez is on his way to work. So all good. I saw you running on my way to the gym. There you go. There's two good parts about that. You were running and that person was on their way to the gym. Nice. Ash is here. Good morning, Ash. I hope you're well. Ash said, when we announced yesterday, Ash said, I could listen to Nick Friend talk all day. So it's true to her word. She's shown up for the value. Guys, we're kicking this off in 1 minute. All right. So if you have any questions during the course, now listen up, seriously. If you've got any questions during the course of this chat that you would like me to ask Nick directly, please pop them in the chat and I will ask Nick, okay, in due time. Xanth is here as well. Good morning, friend. In case it doesn't display, it's displaying. Still don't know why it's working for some people and not others, but it doesn't really matter. All right, brother. You ready to tell some truths?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, good stuff. All right. I think we're ready to rock and roll, guys. So if you do end up watching this one on replay, you know what to do. Please hashtag replay in the comments. And if you're joining live, if there's anything you want me to talk about or display or ask the big dog, I will do exactly that. On the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets, unsustainable workout programs. And so in this podcast, we typically talk about the importance of mindset in a transformation. So for this reason, I've brought on my friend, Nick Friend, and one of our statesman client onto the podcast. Nick, good morning. How's things?
Good morning. Yeah, really good. Thanks, Jace. Thanks for having me on. I think third time on the podcast for me. So
third time.
I'm quite honoured to be invited back again.
Dude, such a legend, such a gentleman. And I'd like to introduce Nick a little bit because if you are new to Better Body Academy, then you might have seen this guy who is just like uber consistent, got the energy of a 21-year-old, and wondering like, where does he get this from? I wish I could have that type of energy. So let's talk. Nick started with BBA in February 2022 as your average 58-year-old. When I say average, Nick was 103 kilos and had a waist circumference of 116 centimeters on his first check-in. 103 kilos, 116 centimeters on his first check-in. And for reference, a healthy waist circumference is 94 centimeters. So Nick was by no means an athlete. In his original application, Nick told me that, quote, his gut had gotten a bit out of control and then he'd become frustrated with his overall lack of flexibility, strength, and fitness. Like I said, your average 50-year-old. Nick had little to no experience of working out in a gym. However, he was willing to try. He was willing to give it a go. He wanted to be able to get back into surfing and, quote, be around long enough to shoot photos of his yet unborn grandkids. Well, it's 2 years on, and this guy has completely changed. For one, he's now in his 60s, but seems to have the energy of a 21-year-old. He is sitting 20 kilos down at a tidy 80 kilograms, and that's from the start point of 103. He has lost 30 centimeters off what was once a burgeoning beer belly. That's one of those like old school rulers, right? That's a lot of centimeters. This guy is a gym guy, a marathon runner, and along with Terry Holden, I would say our most consistent community giver. See, you guys look at Nick and put him in the, yeah, but that's Nick category, as if he's made of something that is different to what you are. And you say things like, but I'm just not like that. I can't do that. Yet what you're failing to understand is that that was Nick a little over 2 years ago. Nick has a life riddled with trauma, yet at nearly 60 years old, he's mustered the energy to turn it all around. And so today I invited him on the podcast to, rather than just talk about his story, to pick apart his mindset so that you can perhaps glean some strength and inspiration from this. So, Nick, welcome back to the podcast. And I hope that you're going to give us some real answers here, not some sugar-coated responses that aim to not offend anyone. I want to know more about your self-talk, your mindset, how you think. Can you help us out with that?
100%. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's go.
What an introduction. Congratulations, dude, firstly on transformation. Unbelievable. So first question is, to start out, did you ever intend to become a marathon runner? To become, I think you're now in the athlete category. Nick just told me he's preparing for an ultra. Was that ever in your original goal set, dude?
No, not running specifically, but getting back to some sort of athletic level for myself was, I guess it's morphed into something totally different, and I still blame you because it was your bucket list that had the marathon on it. But I found something there that I could do with a bit of freedom. It presents a real challenge to me. And if I look back at when I was younger, I like that sort of challenge in sporting pursuits, as surfing or skateboarding or playing rugby or sailing, riding horses. All that sort of stuff was part of my growing up.
Yeah.
So I think by, getting rid of the fat that peeled back so many layers, not just off my body, but all this junk in my mind, it managed to push a lot of that out. So, and get back to a bit more of the core of me.
I love that. And given that you had that kind of like part of you that was buried inside, you must have gone through some shit and felt completely like garbage to get to the point where you're kind of embarrassed about your body. I mean, you're not a tall guy. You're not a short guy, but you're not a tall guy. Certainly 103 kilos and a beer belly of 120 centimeters, not where you should be. Like, you must have felt crap.
I think I was thinking about this, about mindset. And I think maybe if I boil it down to more of the essence of it, that when I was a little kid, I had that curiosity and I'd go out chasing things, and I did things with a freedom that I didn't really care. You just go exploring and searching, and my parents were good at nurturing that type of thing as well. They supported that. As you get older, maybe I'm starting to worry more about what other people, my what I think that they think about me, that I
They're
don't even know
perception
what
of you.
they think, but I'm worried about it.
Yeah.
And perhaps that started to sort of layer up, and it stopped me from doing things. It pushed away my curiosity. I started, um, I suppose, doubting myself in certain ways, but also having that mindset of being a bit of a closed mindset of saying, I should know everything because I'm an adult, I'm a dad,
Yeah.
I should know everything, right? I shouldn't be going out asking for help. And I got in that sort of stuck in that kind of loop of um, not being vulnerable, I guess, and just pretending that I knew everything. And at the
Mm.
same time, looking at myself walking past the shops, going, "Holy shit! Look at this guy's guts." He's
Did you
people are
do
giving,
that? Did you look at
yeah,
like look in the mirror and go,
and people would say things to me that even guys when I'd be down the club drinking beer with them are patting me on my guts, complimenting me on my, or geez, Nick, that's getting. Um, and yeah, that really did worry me. And I suppose then when I looked in the mirror, um, I didn't really like that person looking back at me because I wasn't really having a go.
mm.
I think that was the main thing that I couldn't honestly say to myself, truthfully, that I was actually really showing up the best as I could for myself.
Dude, that's like sometimes when people say things, like we've had a billion conversations before, but sometimes when people say things, it hits a different way. That hits very simply to me. I just looked at myself and realized I wasn't having a go. So most people like they struggle to get started. They're full of self-doubt. They're full of fear. Like, were you in that phase as well for a period of time where you're just like, "Ugh, I want to do something, but I'm not," and it's like almost like just buying time for a period, trying to convince yourself.
I would have to be one of the world's greatest procrastinators.
Right.
I don't believe in star signs so much, but I'm a Libran, and so I think that puts me in some sort of balance point
Yeah.
where
Right.
I can never actually tip one direction. But yeah, I sat there for quite a while, a few years of realizing this was happening to me. There were some other things too, some health, actual real health things like blood
Mm,
pressure and
mm,
cholesterol, and there was stuff happening there. My liver function tests were not great. My mental health was pretty poor, as you mentioned. I had some pretty serious traumas, losing my older sister in 1998 in a not a good way, in a domestic violence incident, and
mm,
then my parents
mm.
together in 2012 when they decided to check out, um, and that was massively traumatic. I spent 25 years living in a bit of a blur, really.
Mm.
Um, but as I've realised, I was just hiding from myself. I, really, that at the right in the core of it, there's only one person I have to try and actually please, and that's me. It took me a long time to figure that out, but
Can you try to explain that to me? When you say you were hiding from yourself, what do you mean by that?
well, I think I had a mindset where I did, I think, play the victim card a fair bit.
Yeah.
That because these things happen to me, that maybe people should give me a bit of a free pass and cut me some slack, and
Right.
maybe I could cut myself some slack.
Yep.
That it was okay to go and drink beer, stupid amounts of beer and get drunk and do other silly things, and I was still able to work and be a parent, or taking
Mm,
kids around to sport and do stuff like that.
mm,
But I think I gave myself a bit of a free pass to
mm,
not look after myself as well as I could have. At some points, probably even giving up on myself a little bit, that I didn't
mm,
really deserve to to even be really living a seriously good life.
mm,
That because my sister didn't, and my mum and dad didn't anymore, and
mm.
I think
Feelings of
that really
worthiness have
did
been kind
weigh
of
me down.
yeah. Yeah, the feelings of unworthiness have been kind of inherited a little bit, and then you're kind of like, why do I deserve this? So what's the point in trying? And then that victim card, I think, is like, and I get it, dude, because I feel the same thing at times. Like right now, I am in the fucking trenches. Like I'm not going to go into the details, but I'm in the trenches, man. Like shit is hitting me left, right, and center, and you can just find yourself wandering off into that, I'm just going to quit, right? Or why do I deserve this? Like, I'm a good person. Like, why? Just cut me some slack. Like, why aren't people? You're not going to change anyone else. Like, that change has to come from within, and it only comes when you say, I'm going to get rid of the no time excuse. I'm going to get rid of the no responsibility excuse. Stop blaming my kids. Fucking draw a line in the sand, and it starts with me. And on that note, people kind of look at you, Nick, and they say, "Oh, you're a really motivated guy," but you didn't have a lot of motivation 2 years ago. So what was it that was driving you to get started? Yes, you were disliking looking in the mirror and all that type of stuff, but was there something that like was in the future that you wanted to work towards, or what was it that made you actually just go, you know what, like I've got to start now, or it's not going to happen?
I think look at probably really those serious health conditions, blood
Right.
pressure, cholesterol, overweight. It was, I wouldn't say I was about to keel over and die, but if I did nothing about it, then that would definitely be in my future much sooner than I wanted it to.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned about, I want to be able to take great photos of my grandkids who are still not even conceived yet, but
Yeah.
that was unlikely to be a possibility, really, if I continued on the trajectory I was on. That was a looming possibility in my late 50s. That's the kind of time when overweight guys like I was, their hearts go, well, guess what, Nick? You didn't look after me so well.
Yeah.
And that's scary. I wasn't really ready to die just yet. And so, without being morbid about it, I don't wake up thinking, oh my God, I have to go to the gym or I'll die. But that was a good motivator to get me moving, to come and join up with BBA and, meet up with everybody. That first time I met everyone a couple of weeks in, and I was pretty scared, really.
Yeah.
But I just felt it was that thing. I think you talk about it a bit too, is that it's how much does that weigh, At some point it tips over.
Yeah,
and you
definitely.
say, okay, well, the cost of not doing something far outweighs the cost of doing it. And if the cost of doing it is looking like a fat guy who can't do 5 push-ups in the gym, well, so what? At some point I had to just give that thought away and say, well, that doesn't really matter. I've got to look at that guy in the mirror and say, okay, I tried. At least I had a proper go.
So let's like dive into your mindset a bit. So people see you as this, like I said, this motivated guy, but when you wake up in the morning, have you morphed into like this dude that just fucking jumps out of bed every single day, ready to rock and roll? Or is like just be honest, man. Are you bouncing out? Is it like a discovery of purpose? Or do you still have that resistance where you're like, oh, fuck, I'd really do with a sleep in here? Like whereas, honestly.
It waxes and wanes, at certain points. Yep. Sometimes, and what I do try and do is prepare. So I would, if I know I'm going to the gym the next day, I'm going to put my gym tag in the gym bag. I'm going to put my ear pods in there. I'm going to have a change of shirt if I'm going for a walk first. So I'll pack that and I'll get it ready. And that's definitely helped me. I'll put my running gear out like I did last night because I've already been out for a run this morning. That's been on my program. I didn't really want to put my alarm on an hour earlier and wake up at 4 o'clock, really. But because that's on the program, I've got a busy day coming up through the day for work, then I just had to fit it in. So some days I would wake up with, when we're training for the marathon, this was really bizarre. I was actually excited to run 30 Ks, from home to Gosford and back. And I was looking at myself saying, what is going on in your head? This is bizarre. But most of the time, I do need to just say, okay, well, I said I was going to do this for myself, so I just got to get up and do it, whether it's raining or it's cold or it's, stinking hot.
So do you think about like, is there any part of you that talks about the consequences of not doing it to yourself? Like, so
Yeah.
no one knows if you're not going to get up.
No, they don't, but I do.
And so
I do.
And so what?
Well, to me, if I've made a commitment to myself, and this is the big thing that I've learned over the last couple of years, that
Right.
Like I said, my mind was full of clutter when I first started this, but I've managed to chuck a lot of that junk out and boil it down to things that actually are important to me in my
Right.
head.
Right.
And one of those is that if I make a commitment to myself to do something, then I better have a pretty bloody good excuse to not do it. I'm the things that
Or
I
what?
used to.
Or what though? What are the consequences of that? What would happen if you started not doing it? What would happen?
Well, I guess I'd be concerned that I'm starting to turn the corner to head back to the Nick that started out 2 years ago. I know that's not going to happen overnight, but what I have learned is that I'm the sum of all the small parts. I think you're going to ask me a question about what I've learned. There's probably something else, but one of the main things that I guess I've known this all my life, but everything is really the sum of its small parts. I can break things down that seem like a giant,
Mm,
insurmountable issue.
mm,
If I break them down into the smaller components, then usually they're more manageable.
manageable.
That 42K run, well, it's 42 1 kilometer runs, or it's from this drink station to that drink station. When you look at the vast distance, you're like, oh my god, I could never do it, but you actually can. And yeah, so that's the way I kind of look at things, that I've just got to take that next step. If I can just do the next step, then the one after is probably going to be a little bit easier. But at least I got that one done.
Mm.
And
This is amazing, bro, because there's a couple of points there. You I think what most people do is they're trying to knock the building over in one foul swoop. And it's fucking overwhelming. Like
mm,
how? How so we look at the whole thing and we go, yeah, I just can't do it. You can't do the whole thing. You can do one thing, and then you can do another thing. And we call this habit stacking. And it's literally you build upon it really slowly. But for most people, I feel like that is too slow. So what they think is that they need to create this monumental change quickly because they don't trust themselves enough to do it slowly. But the beauty of doing it the way you've done it is you've built up an identity around what you're doing. And for you, like, and that's how it feels to me, Nick. It feels like my missus tells me to sleep in all the time. Jess, you need to sleep. Yes, you do need to sleep. But I'm not accountable to you. If I start listening to you telling me how to run my life, right, I'll take the soft route. And that's because our loved ones love us. They want to see us doing well and they want to see us comfortable. But I don't want to be fucking comfortable. If I'm comfortable, I start dying. And so part of ambition is like, bro, it's like so good for you to tap into that. Let me ask the next question. You as well as being like motivated, you're seen as this eternal optimist, right? Oh, everything's good, man, like optimist. And so I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be thinking, is this like a facade? Like, is he actually really this nice? And you are really this nice. But I'm interested in, is your self-talk always good? Like, if we were to just literally somehow capture a recording device on your mind, do you still have negative self-doubting conversations with yourself?
of course,
What
yeah,
do they
no,
look
there's
like?
chat.
As an example, like what types of things?
So I would catch myself at the moment. I've been with my work. It's been super pressure. There's been a
Mm,
big project I've been working on for the last probably 3 years, big land lease project, which has come to starting to get concluded. It's going to be a protracted conclusion, but they started moving people into these, the first couple of hundred of about 800 apartments.
right.
For people who don't know, I'm involved in the door hardware kind of industry, security products. Electronic locks is really what I do at the moment. And this has been it's a new system that we've produced in our company. We don't know it all that well, and we've gone and boldly sold it to this giant, massive prestige project with 800 apartments in the middle of Sydney. And of course, that was a bit of me with my bravado, and then we've actually got to make it work like over the last 3 weeks. So I've been a little bit removed over the last few weeks. People might have noticed my participation's been a bit lower. It's because I've been so bogged down in this project, and there's plenty of chatter in my head about what the F have you done? Like, this isn't going to work. Oh no, this is crisis, right? And it's just been up and down. It's been just an absolute crazy ride. And so one part of my brain, I guess, I don't know, the older part or whatever you might like to say, that's been, banging away about all the things, the negative consequences that could happen if this doesn't happen or whatever. But the other part of me has said, hang on, that awareness has kicked in, and it said, just hang on, just step back just a second. Again, everything is the sum of its small parts. We can figure out why, this isn't happening or that happening. It does work. This thing does work. And so we've plugged our way through the problems. We've solved the problems, and, touch wood, things have settled down right now, but we seem to be rolling along more smoothly. And, but yeah, my head's constantly, I'm running 30 Ks over the weekend, and there's plenty of parts of that run where my brain starts saying, oh, Nick, come on, man, I think you got to stop here. You got to just slow down. Just why don't you just walk a bit at the drink station? And the other bit of me is going, no, you can't do that. Don't do that, you idiot. What are you doing?
And so the reason I'm asking that question, guys, if you're listening, is because you listen to that voice, which is just another voice in your head. You listen to that as if it's fact. It's not fact. You're probably not dying. You've just got to understand that it's almost like, think of it, it's good because I've got the wolf shirt on. It's like two wolves. One's the one that's chattering all the negative shit that wants you to listen, and the other one's the courageous wolf, and it's the battle. And it's just that it's the one you feed less. So, what we've concluded from this conversation so far is Nick is a flawed human. He got himself out of shape through bad habits, which the cause probably was overrun by emotion, like most people. He is brutally optimistic, but that doesn't mean that he has shitty, horrible thoughts like everyone else. What else? He's confident, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't doubt himself in specific areas at times. And just to add to the power of that, I struggle with it all the time. Who the fuck do I think I am running a podcast that's approaching 300 episodes that people actually listen to? What if they start thinking this guy's a fucking dick? Like, who do I think I can run a mastermind program? Why am I not motivated for this gym session? Oh, I don't want to get out of bed. I fucking can't think of anything worse right now. I've got to say to my missus, like, if you're not in bed to make love by 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'm not staying up till 11 because I've got to get up at 4. Like, these are like this is real shit that we're talking about here. So if you're wrestling with these things, just understand it's the loneliness that creates the issue. When you think that you're the only person dealing with this, that's the source of the problem. You're not. Everyone deals with it. Every single person on this earth is wrestling between what they feel like doing and what they want and what they actually need to do. Okay? Nick, has getting older shifted the way you kind of view your life and fitness?
Yeah, I think so. I guess getting older means I'm getting closer to the end of my life, and so that kind of piques my interest in making the most of what I've got. Again, not in a morbid sense, I suppose. It's just life's life. It's precious, so I want to keep living it. More, I think that I've actually just enjoyed being fit and healthy. It just feels good. And I was probably kicked myself a little bit that I didn't just keep that way from when I was in my 20s, when I probably was still fit and had that opportunity. But, no regrets. I can't go back. So let's just keep going forward and keep that good feeling. I just like the feeling of being able to, go and do things and have some energy and go for a run, feel the blood flowing, and it just feels good.
Do you
So
feel
yeah,
proud? Do you feel proud? Like, have you restored a sense of pride in yourself?
100%,
Wow,
100%,
what a
and
fucking
it's
great
good.
feeling. Because
Yeah,
pride used the wrong way, when pride becomes egotistical, where you're using it to like, I'm not going to listen to anyone else. I'm not going to bow down to anyone else. That's a garbage form of pride. But when you can look in the mirror and just say, you know what, like I'm really just comfortable with who I am. I don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks. You can have your opinion, you're entitled to it. But this man is a man that shows up for himself. What a feeling. What a fucking feeling that you no longer need to hide from yourself.
yeah.
Ugh.
That is the core of it, Chase. And this is, I say I can't ever really express my gratitude for what you've provided. I guess I've done it, but it's your platform that I've got onto that's led the way for me to um, transform really my mind. Yeah, I've shed weight and I've gotten fit and stronger and all of those sorts of things, but it's really been the change in my mind. And I haven't got my glasses on. I did actually look at the sort of dictionary meaning of mindset when you brought this up, and I think that the best I can get is that it's a series of self perceptions or beliefs that people hold about themselves. And that really rings true for me, is that it's my mind and it's the way I think about myself that has changed.
Mm.
That's really been the big thing, and again, made up of lots of small parts, just getting started. I said on the coach call the other night that I had my break wall buster finishers shirt on, like this marathon. You only get it if you finish, and you don't get one if you don't start. And that journey all the way through, it's just all the small steps, isn't it? What did we take? 45,000 steps in the marathon. And that's what this has been like. And it's like, wow, just mind blowing to be able to go from that. And again, going on that thing I said before about the little kid who's got the curiosity and
Mm.
the exploring and that open nature, to going into that kind of closed, oh, I'm an adult, like you say, that pride about, well, you can't tell me, I know, and blah blah blah, that sort of thing, back to a bit more of that open curiosity.
Mm. Mm.
And I think you're often talking about a growth mindset, and that's that openness to learning and
Yep.
allowing these processes to do their work. And yeah, all I can say is that it's worked for me,
Yeah.
and I can see my peers around me. It's worked for so many more people
Yeah. Yeah.
around me in this group. And yeah, look, there's plenty of days that are not as good as other days. It's in and out. There's still plenty of chatter in my head, but mostly I think I've built that kind of wave of self belief, that maybe that wall of self belief that can help me to
Mm.
kind of fortify myself against that doubt.
The doubt.
Uh,
Yep.
and maybe look, at times it's also been good for me to know when to say no. And
Mm.
I've been able to go, okay, I'm not going to do that because you think it's good for me. I'm actually not going to do it at all because I
Mm.
don't think it's good for me. So I'm not going to go down that path.
Mm.
Um,
I love
and
that.
and that's been important for me too, because I did get washed along, I think, for many years through my what I might call adult life. Um, got sort of pushed along by other people's expectations, or what I thought they expected
They
of me.
expected of you. Yeah. So
I
you
didn't
try to
know what-
show up as that version.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite liberating to actually be able to not do that anymore.
Dude, I checked your app earlier on this morning, and after 2 years, I sped through the dates, but I don't. There might be one or two. I don't know, but I don't think you've missed a single check-in of your weight, waist circumference, and photos. Is that accurate? 106 weeks straight.
Last Sunday, because I was up in in South, in wherever we were, I'm only at
106, 106 unmissed check-ins. Every single week, guys. Still. Why do you do it, Nick? Why do you still check in?
Well, I guess I promised myself that I would when I started. That's the process, and I figured, okay, well, I've got to follow the process, and I
Fuck.
guess I guess I don't need to now. Maybe I don't really need to, but yeah, I like doing it, and I like doing it also to, to put my check-in pictures up in the group on a Sunday because it is part of the process, and I think anyone who's not doing it is missing out on a big chunk of the value of the program. And it might be embarrassing. It's a bit of a, look, it's just a routine. Usually go for a stomp on a Sunday with the boys, come home. First thing I do is go and grab my bits and pieces, take my photos. And, my wife looks at me and rolls her eyes, or, the son who took my original photos before I sort of set up a little tripod, even he's like, oh, are you still doing that? I said, yeah, it's just Sunday. I just do it on a Sunday. It's just what I do.
So good.
But I think, for everyone else that, like I said, if you're not doing it, you're missing out on an important part of the process, is that self-reflection and also the pride that comes from seeing the little changes. And it's not going to happen, this week, next week. But when you look in 6 months' time, or I look 2 years later, right, the difference between that guy, that unhappy fat guy looking at me versus who's looking back at me today, why wouldn't I keep doing it?
And you know what? Like, I want to say something here that I've really started to understand. When I'm telling people about our program, I tell them there's two parts: a simple plan to follow, probably even too simple, and the accountability support component, right? Now, the simple plan, anyone can get for free anywhere if they either listen to my stuff, the podcast, YouTube, ChatGPT, Google. It's all there. The only difference is you have to kind of go and aggregate it, right? You got to kind of pull it together. You get it in a turnkey system, which is really great. The part that's the most important part is the accountability and support part. But the first step to getting accountability is being accountable. Not conditionally accountable. Not accountable when you want to. And people don't like that. They don't like the idea of, like, why would I show up? Because they see it as doing it for someone else. I'm putting the check-in photos up for someone else, for my coaches or whatever. You're not. To be honest, like, I haven't looked at Nick's photos in 6 months. Like, straight up honest. He didn't stop doing them. What does that tell you? He's doing it for him. The photos are for him. They're not for me. Maybe that's a frame shift. As we draw this to a close, Nick, why do you, like, honestly, why do you give to our community so much? You support everyone's post. You come to the stomps. You're all over everything, and you're a busy guy. Like, why do you actually do that?
I guess I really value what it's given me, and if I can pass that back to other people, that's something I like doing. I guess I've just got that whether you said is it nature? It would be nurture, really. I think my parents were both very supportive of our broader friends group and activities and what have you. And I just see that it helped me, so I like to help people back.
Terry's the exact same. Your sister Xanth is the exact same. Like, there's a part of giving which you just give and give and give, and the world looks after you.
Yeah.
It's called reciprocity, and you don't give with the intention to get back. You just give and give and give and give as much as you can, and all of a sudden things start happening. It's crazy, right?
Yeah. I really love seeing it when you see the people who can get started, commit, follow their process as best as they can, but you see them when they start to gather some momentum, and then that they, especially if they're checking in, because they go from the frowny face into the bit more neutral, and next week we're smiling.
Yeah.
And then you can see by the way people are posting that they're bouncing in their posts, and then other days, they're sharing things that are a little bit tougher and they're opening up a bit more.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I think, that I really like encouraging that, because that's good, really good for those people. You can see that they're growing and that they're transforming, and that their mindset's getting a
Well,
um,
people might ask then, Nick, why is it, how does revealing, Mike talks about it all the time. How does revealing help? Well, to break it down simply to me, when you start opening up and start talking about it, you lower your own barriers, so you become more approachable. You let people in that actually genuinely want to care and want to help and want to get involved in your journey and give you tips. But there's also what I've noticed is that the guys that, and I'm talking about like guys that are very fucking private people, like a Troy Whitelam type person, or even Wendy Bell. I don't know if she's still watching here. Like, these people are like, they've got barriers up for the reason that it's protecting, it's preservation, because of some trauma that they've had in their life. Totally get it. Having said that, when those barriers just start to come down a little bit, and you stop thinking to yourself, what's the point in me doing this Facebook thing? Like, what's the point in me? Like, just don't question it anymore. Just get involved. Benny Brennan, he's joined recently. Exactly the same. First 2 months, didn't hear a bear from him, right? Soon as he starts revealing, it feels like the change is happening. And the guys and girls that dig their heels in and just don't offer that kind of openness, what you're effectively doing is going back to what got you stuck in the first place, which is trying to do everything yourself. I'm learning this lesson in trying to grow our mission to as big as I can. I can't do everything myself as much as I try to. So I ask for help. Nick, the final question that I've got for you, brother, is there one kind of mindset or frame shift that you've been taught, or maybe you've discovered, that might help people kind of understand their own transformation, their own journey?
I guess I've learned lots of things here. Um, I think just understanding and being able to accept that things are made up of the much smaller components. That's a big thing. Like, it's easy to say it, but to actually believe it and to trust in that process, that this is going to happen down the track. At the moment I'm training for this 50K ultra, and I've got to say some of the training is pretty brutal. I'm just coming to another block now, and I've been told that what I'm going to end up doing is doing like a 30K hilly trail run on a Saturday, and backed up by a 20K hilly trail run on a Sunday. And then you're like, so there's some hectic training coming up. And I got to say, my mind, this internal chatter looking at that, I'm like, oh, I don't really want to look that far ahead.
No.
So what I am doing is just focusing on, okay, what have I got to do today?
Yes.
Let's just get that done. So today I had a 30-minute run on the program, just a recovery run. Like I said, it's a busy day today. Not going to get much chance. I could put it off till the night, but I don't really like doing that. So I just got up an hour earlier and just got it done. So that's probably the biggest thing, is just trusting the process, getting those small things done, and trusting that they do stack up, and that the results and whatever the results might be. I think when we lined up at the Sydney Marathon, I stood there and I was pretty calm, actually, considering what was ahead. But I could look at all the training we put in, over 20 weeks of training, and I was really proud that I put that training in. And I thought, whatever happens today, if I fall over and I don't make it to the finish line, I'm going to carry that pride with me, that I put in the work, and whatever happens today happens. And as it turned out, it went well for me. But I was proud of myself that I put in all of those blocks in the training program and got that done. And that's translated across lots of my life now, that I'm looking at things in a different way, and work stuff, relationships, even financial things, is to just go, okay, let's just use my awareness, just step back a little bit. Let's break this down into the smaller parts.
I love that,
Um,
because if someone's sort of said, I'm hearing keep going and be patient. This is great. People, generally speaking, they don't want to be patient because they think that if they take too long, they'll fall off. So they're like, I can't be patient because what if I fall off? If you're outcome focused all the time, you probably will fall off because you've got your eyes on the prize way down there. What Nick is saying is that be patient, focus on... Here's an example. If you want to build a good relationship, you don't just buy roses on Valentine's Day for your partner. And that's people's ad hoc approach to health. They're kind of like, I'll do this thing, this big thing, this monumental thing on this one day and see if it changes everything. And it doesn't. Nothing happens. You get a spurt of confidence, spurt of motivation, and it dissipates. You build a great relationship by doing the very, very small things. You build a great body by going to the gym when you don't feel like it 3 times a week. You do a good run by inching and ticking it off on your list, right? You save money, not by hoping you get a windfall bonus and then tucking away that. It's like $10 a week that accumulates with compound interest over time. Like, the evidence is clear. It's the accumulation mindset and keeping in the game long enough that pays dividends, not the all-out mindset and see how much I can move here. And it's really interesting. I'm starting to see a lot of people in our academy, Nick, doing that exactly. They're starting to come to their own realizations that, fuck, what if I don't try to lose 20 kilos in the next week and I just focus on like showing up? I'm going to be there on the coaching calls. I'm going to do my daily check-ins and tracking. Then I'm just going to go back to my life. Like, my life is just... And then eventually what ends up happening is it integrates, right? It embodies. And then a year's passed and you are the person that you didn't think you could ever be. And you think to yourself, how did that even happen? And it doesn't make sense, right? Until you look backwards and you're like, I was trying to do it with this like one foul swoop before. Like, stop that.
100%, yeah. And then you can walk past that shop window and take a glance over and not be worried about the shape anymore, but more that you're actually proud of that person walking down the footpath or looking back at you in the mirror. And that's the advantage of having that distance of going over time. And if you can step back a little bit and reflect really on what you thought about yourself at the beginning when you started and what you think about yourself now, even after it's turning up, you've got a 5-day step streak. That's a real win, I reckon, that sort of stuff. I love that. And that just builds and builds and builds. And, I think that's been a massive lesson for me. And I think it works for everybody. It's the program, isn't it?
Guys, I'm going to cut it off there. What a great chat. I hope you've enjoyed this. Like, for me, Nick, this is like the 2 episodes that we've done so far really talked about kind of the surface level stuff of your transformation. Like, I think what we've kind of dug in here is that, dude, cut you open, you bleed the same stuff.
Exactly. I'm just a normal person. There's nothing superhuman about me at all. I'm just a regular guy, but I've turned up for myself. That's the main thing.
I'll let Nick have the last word. Guys, this has been the Better Body Academy podcast with the King, Nick Friend. I'll speak to you guys in the next episode. Bro, unreal. The depth of that chat, as opposed to, like I said, maybe just like superficial. So, how did you change your eating? So, what did you do there? And it's like, people intuitively know they know they need to eat better. They know they need to move a bit more. But I think we get stuck in that. And like, it's at every level, Nikki. Like, people, I'm convinced that the biggest challenge for most people in transformation is the sense of loneliness that comes with the feeling that you're broken and there's something wrong with you and like you can't be fixed. And I get it. Like I said throughout the podcast, it almost feels like some days I'm like, oh, I don't have the capacity to do this. Straight out. Then you go to bed and you wake up the next day and you're like, all right, let me give it another go. Like that's almost the mindset.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah, you've got to be somewhat relentless, so that you can just push through those tough periods. I think with some kindness for yourself too, those, and that's what I've learned. I think we were talking about before we came on air was that I've learned perhaps that I've got to balance some of this up, some of this effort. I've got to balance it with appropriate rest and recovery and sleep. And, I've been looking at my nutrition because I'm running a lot more and I've got to sort of maybe vary the composition there a bit. So it can't just be like the bull in the china shop, just smashing everything. I can't work like that. It has to be more constant effort. I've described it maybe like the 4-wheel drive in low range second gear. But nothing's really going to stop me. I might not be the quickest, but if I can just keep sort of trundling along and just keep trucking along, that's what I thought when I was running the marathon. I would just keep trucking along, Nick. Come on, next block, just keep trucking along. And, eventually, well, that there was the finish line and wow, finished. But, yeah, that's kind of how I've seen it. And yeah, probably started scared, then over enthusiastic, then it's sort of moderated a bit and just got that steady kind of push. It's been good, but it's definitely taken a much less cluttered mind to be able to do that. That's been important. Yeah. And then it gives space for the other new clutter to come in and all the panic.
Yeah, exactly.
My life.
It's so it'd be so easy to just like stop trying. Like that's the truth of it. It's like it's easier. Stop trying.
It's easier. I did that for so long and it was easier, but it wasn't easier because in all truthful honesty with myself, when I looked in the mirror, I knew I quit. I knew. Didn't matter about anybody else, but other people might have known and certainly did at different things that I didn't finish in my life. But really the person and my dad he wasn't a disciplinarian at all. And if Xanthi's still watching, she knows this. The biggest thing, the worst thing that our father could say to us was that he was disappointed. That was crushing, I'll get emotional thinking about that. And I guess for me, that's been, if I'm honest with myself, I can flog myself or whatever. You can try and beat yourself up. But if I'm disappointed in myself, I can hear my father. But that's not a nice feeling, is it?
No.
And only you know that.
When that catches momentum, you become disappointed in yourself, and then you learn to be disappointed in yourself. Then being disappointed in yourself becomes an identity. I'm a disappointment. You've gone from being a person who is experiencing disappointment to I am a disappointment. And that's an identity. And when you've adopted that I'm a disappointment, then everything you do just attracts back that same fucking energy, right?
And then I would find myself masking that kind of feeling because I didn't like it. So, you could have a few beers, that feeling disappears for a while. I'm down with the boys, just having a good chat, feel like I'm achieving something. But it was all superficial, really. It had no real impact on my life, actually a really negative impact on my life. And after a while, I think I started realizing that. And then I'm like, oh, rabbit in the headlights. Well, shit, what do I do?
Mm.
You know, now I've got to buy bigger clothes again. And things are getting a bit out of control. So, yeah, I guess it took a lot of things for it to build up. And again, some of it's small parts, isn't it? Was all that sort of poor decisions for myself that stacked up on themselves, and eventually, I guess, the cost of those decisions um, was outweighed by the benefit of actually changing and adopting change, being open to it,
Mm.
and and allowing myself to change my identity. You're right. I wrote down the word identity earlier. That had a completely different identity
I think
to start with.
if people could taste how it feels to feel a sense of like freedom, freedom from like the constant negativity. And at the start, you're only going to get a little taste, right? You're going to get a little taste, but if you can just taste it enough, like, oh man, it'd be really good to feel like this more. And
Yeah,
then that just inches you a little bit closer to the goal. And bro, listen, uh, I could discuss this with you and just talk forever. If you're watching this and you want to come along now and join our UK based coaching call, we're starting that on the hour. So Nikki, I'm going to love you and leave you, brother. Thanks for donating an hour of your time this morning. As always, read the comments, bro, because got plenty of love in there. All right.
awesome.
Ciao,
Thanks,
guys. Bye
Jace.
bye.